This body is kind of hard to control if you don't actually understand how the inside works first. Hi peeps, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Runzi. I'm an artist, but I mainly enjoy talking about mental hygiene, personal development, and spirituality related topics. So if you're interested in any of this, please hit like and subscribe. It really does help me out a lot. Before I get started, I just want to show you guys my makeup today because I really love this look. Apart from creating art, makeup and styling have always been my biggest passion. So being able to rekindle with my biggest loves, I feel so good, to be honest. I feel so proud of myself and I'm so happy that I finally managed to step out of depression and all of that mental health labels, which is something I want to discuss about today. So here's a very brief background regarding myself. I personally had been dealing with clinically severe depression as well as bulimia for more than a decade. I had been to the end of the spectrum where I contemplated on ending things myself, if you get what I mean. I used to be a person who hate myself a lot. Trust me, I know I probably don't look like someone who hates themselves by the way I doll myself up. Trust me, I used to be someone who really despised myself. I thought that I was the most worthless person on earth. I thought that I was not capable of doing anything at all. I was so useless. I was so unattractive. I find myself really fat and ugly. I really hated myself. And because I had such low self-esteem, the people that I tend to attract are really negative as well. But of course, at that time, I wouldn't know. I thought that they were the greatest friends, they were the greatest partner, they were good people, they were so supportive, and they were so willing to be there for me, to listen to my sob story and whatnot. Of course, I feel like I'm still grateful to have the friends that I had in the past. I think everyone serves a purpose in everyone else's life to an extent. Once I managed to step out of that negative state of mind, I managed to realize that a lot of the people in my past weren't the best for me. In fact, I feel like a lot of them are energy vampires. However, this is not to blame the environment that you're in or the people around you, because you were at such a low point in your life. Subconsciously, you were attracting these people without even realizing it. Even though I had been dealing with such severe mental health issues for more than a decade, in the back of my mind, I still have this voice that constantly reminded me that if I am still here, if I am unable to end my life, I must have a purpose. And I know that a lot of people on YouTube or there's a lot of personal development gurus mention that you don't really need a purpose to exist. To an extent, it is true, you don't really need to know what your purpose is. However, I feel like there is a mission for me to fulfill here as long as I'm alive. I know it sounds really woo-woo to a certain extent, but hear me out. This would definitely help you if you apply it into your daily life. So enough babbling, I'm just gonna share with you guys how I managed to pull myself out of a negative mindset into a whole new state where I can appreciate myself and fully be who I aspire to be. On contrary to a lot of mental health professionals' advice, my personal experiences and my advice might be a little bit controversial, so please keep that in mind. If you feel triggered, feel free to click out of this video. So the first thing I did was I simply decided that I don't want to be labeled as a depressive person or a bulimic anymore, ever again. I don't want to associate myself with all these quote-unquote negative labels anymore. In fact, I don't want to be put into any box at all, whether it's a good one or a bad one. I just want to be free and I just want to be able to fully express myself and to live my life based on whatever terms that serves me at the moment. In the beginning, it was really hard because I was still trying to figure out how not to beat myself up whenever I stumble, whenever I have negative thoughts towards myself. I don't really like the term fake it till you make it because I feel like if you believe in something, eventually it's gonna come true. So there's no point trying to fake anything. So I just accept myself as what I am, who I am at the moment. If I don't like myself, I still accept that as a part of who I used to be, and I was very, very patient with myself. I try not to think of myself as a person, as a human on this plane. I just think of myself as my mind. Does that make any sense? I just think of myself as what it is between my ears instead of this physical body. So the moment I decided that I don't want to be associated with any labels at all, I'm able to look at myself within instead of without. And the tool that helped me out a lot is journaling. Journaling helps me reflect so much about myself. I don't believe there's a way or form to journal. As long as you're able to stick with it, that's the best way for you. Just find something that works for you. Make sure you're being very honest with yourself. You don't have to put in any filter. And if you're afraid that your parents might read your journal or someone that you're living with might read your journal, just keep it somewhere safe and lock it up. And sometimes by putting your thoughts into words, you're able to evaluate the words that you choose to describe yourself, and from there you can change and shift the words that you choose into something that fits you better. Words are extremely powerful, so be very careful when you choose the words you describe yourself. If you don't like to be associated with certain words, transmute that into something that benefits you. I know it's really difficult in the beginning, but if you don't like to see yourself in a certain way, slowly shift your perspective into thoughts that serve you, into thoughts that benefit you. So instead of jumping right into a whole new self, I choose to replace the words with something that's more believable at that time. So for example, if you're someone that's really overweight and you want to transform into someone that's really fit, healthy, and maybe you want to feel energetic, instead of trying to completely shift your mindset, which is probably really hard to a lot of us, you can start from something that's believable to you. Something like, I enjoy walking, I enjoy running, something like that. It might sound like it's nothing, but in a long run, when you look back, all the dots will connect, like what Steve Jobs said. Instead of looking at things in a huge picture, just try to take small steps, and like I say, journaling definitely helps you keep track. The next thing that I do, which helped me as much as journaling, is reading. Reading helps me out so much, guys. I know that not everyone here enjoys reading, so if you're big on audiobook, definitely go for that as well. Audiobooks and books, reading in general, is definitely a great way to understand yourself. So I started off by reading a lot of psychological related books. I studied a lot about the mind because, like I say, I had been depressed for more than a decade, and it definitely took a toll on my well-being, and I really did not want that anymore. I just want to get out from it. I just really want a cure. Although a lot of mental health professionals mention that you might have to battle with depression for the rest of your life, it's a long life battle, but deep down I still believe that there must be a cure. There must be something that I can do to be able to transmute all of these negative thoughts, negative emotions into something that serves me. It's just like what I mentioned in the beginning. When I made the decision, I simply decided that there must be something that I can do. So regardless of what everyone else say, I give myself a chance and I listen to myself. And a lot of the times I believe that we are depressed because there's something that we truly desire, but we choose to listen to everyone else around us. So it made us feel really conflicted on the inside. Of course, I am not this person who knows it all, so I decided to start reading more and try to understand how the brain functions, how the mind works. And personally, I believe that you have to start somewhere because certain books might be a little bit too advanced for certain people. So start off with whatever that resonates the most with you, even if it's a fictional work, guys. Just read something, read anything at all that resonates with you, and from there you might be able to reflect back at yourself and understand yourself more. The moment I decided that I want to get better and I want to be able to help myself, I started reading Robert Greene's book first. I know that this is probably not the best book for mental health advices. The 48 Laws of Power and the Laws of Human Nature. My brother got me this, so I'm really grateful. This is my first Robert Greene book, and I have The Art of Seduction as well. And I know Robert Greene's books are marketed as something that's pretty dark and controversial. There's a lot of manipulative tactics in this book, but instead of looking at things in a negative way, I try to see things in a bigger picture. I try to understand the human nature more, because let's be real, no matter how good of a person you are, you still have a darker side, you still have negative thoughts, you still have resentful thoughts, you still have really toxic thoughts. So when you read these books, not only you can understand why certain people do certain things, you can also understand yourself better. Robert Greene uses quite a lot of historical figures in his books, so when you read this history, you can somewhat understand that it's just history repeating over again and again and again, because a lot of the times most humans have the same behavior, same thoughts, same tendencies to react to certain things. So when you are able to respond instead of reacting to your external circumstances, that's when you are able to be more in control of your life. Another book that I personally really recommend is this, Psycho-Cybernetics. I waited for this book for so long. It's sold out everywhere. It's such a great book though. I find it really helpful, especially to those who are battling with negative habits that you want to break free from. At one point of my life, not long ago, I was having a really bad episode. I was in a very bad state. I couldn't get out of bed at all. So my dad, which is one of my biggest support in my life, kind of explained to me that all of these negative thoughts in my head is just a habit. So at that time, I couldn't really understand. I was really angry and frustrated at him, because what do you mean by habit? I have depression, I am diagnosed with depression. I'm diagnosed with bulimia. I couldn't control myself around food just to throw everything up, right? It felt like an insult. I felt like he's just trying to dismiss all my issues, all of the illnesses that I was dealing with. So I was really angry with him at that time. But when I managed to think through things, I realized what he said is kind of true, because depression is actually a manifestation of an accumulation of negative thoughts, especially when you associate the past negative experiences with your current reality. Because when you look around you, most of the time you're probably not dealing with anything that's too severe that's gonna take your life away. But when you link your current situation with something that's really bad that happened in the past, you will paralyze yourself and you'll be so fearful of what's outside. You won't even be able to think through things, because your body will try its best to conserve itself to protect you from actually dealing with more harm. But in reality, there's no harm around you. Even if you're dealing with some pretty big issues, if you believe that you're able to solve and go through everything just as how you had managed to survive throughout all these years, you will manage to pull through it. Psycho-Cybernetics definitely explain a lot of things in detail. They even have worksheets for you so you can fill in and reflect upon your thoughts. And they even have things like that. Look, how a false belief aged a man 20 years. So your thoughts are really powerful. The words you use on yourself is extremely powerful. Try to understand yourself more instead of reacting to everything around you, because when you understand yourself better, you are able to handle situations around you way better. So the last two books that I really recommend at the moment, there are still so many more books for me to discover. One of it is The Emerald Tablets of Thoth. I actually listened to the audiobook and I think it's a really resourceful book, and there's so much to uncode, so I ordered the book. I think it's gonna arrive today, so I'm really excited. And the other one is The Kabbalion. I'm not sure if I pronounce it right, which actually originated from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. When you have reached to a point where you understand how your mind works, read this, because you will start to see things in a different light on a whole new spectrum. Honestly, I don't think I'm able to uncover all the knowledge there is in this world in this lifetime, but I personally believe that when you read certain books, it will take you one step closer to what you need to know about yourself. So if you find certain books too intimidating or too challenging, Always start small and build from there. The key is not to compare your knowledge with anyone else. The key is not to seek for someone else's concept of life, but is to read everything and then shift them into your own perspective and ask yourself, like, do you agree with this? And how does this serve me? How can I transform this knowledge into something that benefits my own well-being? The last tip that I have is probably the most controversial one, which is to be self-full. Now, how many of us are actually taking actions based on what serves us best? How many of us believe in our own concept of success instead of what everyone else or what society deems success as? How many of us actually know what we want and actually act on it? I know that a lot of you are probably uncomfortable with the concept of being self-full because to others, being self-full might sound like being selfish. Here's the thing about being self-full. I'm just going to break it down to you on how you can actually apply it without feeling so much guilt. In fact, you shouldn't be feeling guilty at all if you are trying to better yourself, if you are choosing this path to enlightenment. I know it sounds so weird when I use the word enlightenment because I'm not a religious person. I'm very spiritual though, although I don't seem like it. A lot of us were raised to believe that you have to be humble, you have to act a certain way so that others will like you, so that you will be seen as a morally right person, so that you will be respected in the society, whatnot. But whenever people tell you something, you have to first question yourself, does that resonate with you? What makes you feel fulfilled at the moment? It can be something really shallow, and even though these are really shallow things, but if you accumulate all of these things that you deny yourself to try, to do, to explore, in a long run, you will definitely be very unhappy. You will feel really resentful towards the world or yourself because you don't even give yourself a chance to breathe, to try new things, to explore, and to simply just be a human, right? Think about it. If you are not allowed to experience all these good experiences or whatever it is that you want to try, you wouldn't even have to manifest into a physical form. You wouldn't even need a body, right? You could have stayed non-physical. But when you look at things in a bigger picture, chaos is needed in this world to balance everything out, or else we wouldn't even exist here if this world is a utopia. Instead of trying to blame everything on everyone else or yourself, just accept things as they are and work on what benefits you. Well, some people might say that some people had wronged them in the past, they had been abused by their parents or their partners or whatnot. Trust me, I really understand that how horrible the situation might be. But if you are constantly trying to change someone else or trying to make someone apologize or trying to curse them, you are literally taking your own energy away to put it on them. Even if it's a negative energy, you're still spending all of your precious energy onto someone that don't even matter. They might even be living their best lives. Same goes to people who are constantly comparing themselves to girls on Instagram or celebrities. Personally, I don't really like advices like stay out of social media forever, or all these girls on social media are fake, they are heavily photoshopped, they have a lot of plastic surgeries, and they have a huge ton of makeup on like me. But the thing is, some girls really do look really attractive by nature in real life. So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna like block them off when you see them, or are you gonna hide in a corner because you feel inadequate about yourself? You can't control them, you can't block them, they're gonna exist wherever they want to be. So the only thing you can do is to focus on yourself. When you're able to know yourself so well, when you're so full of yourself, I know that sounds bad, but it's not, trust me. When you are so confident in knowing yourself, even at your lowest point, you wouldn't even bother if the president is next to you or the most popular celebrity is next to you. You wouldn't even bother because you know who you are and you know where you stand in your mind. However, a lot of people who are depressed probably wouldn't know who they want to be, or they don't even know what they want anymore. They couldn't remember the passion anymore. It's okay, at the moment it's okay. You have to go through what you're going through. You have to first accept yourself first and just allow yourself to feel all of that anger, that numbness. It's actually not a numbness. You are just trying to defend yourself by not allowing yourself to feel. Once you pull off that floodgate, everything is going to come pouring in. You're going to rage, be mad, angry. You're going to go through one of those episodes or many of those episodes, but eventually you will come to the point where you're so sick and tired of being sick and tired, and from there you can slowly move on and slowly understand yourself better and know what you want better. If you don't actually get to know the inner man first, the inner being first, it's really hard to actually control the person, the beast on the outside. Your mind is the only place where nobody can actually take away from you. Your mind is the only place where you can create yourself into a person that you aspire to be. So make the decision, choose the right words to decide who you prefer to be. Now, I know this is getting kind of weird to people who are not tapped into spirituality or people who are not into the study of self, but if you take your time, it will be very, very beneficial, and that's how I managed to pull myself out of all these labels. I don't associate myself with depression or bulimia anymore, but I do acknowledge that as long as I am living in a human's body, I'm going to have negative emotions, I'm going to have bad days, and that's totally fine. I accept that as a part of the human experience. And also keep in mind that a lot of the sufferings that you're going through is simply in here and not out here. So yeah guys, that's it from me for today, and I know that this video will be very beneficial to many of you, so please give yourself a chance to test things out and let me know at the comment section down below. I always look forward to read your comments and feedbacks, and I will talk to you in my next video. Thank you, bye!